Luis Matos. How long are they going to be able to keep Luis Matos down? And I almost, if I'm like a Giants outfielder, I'm making sure I don't get hurt.
Right.
Because you bring up Luis Matos, I don't know if they're going to want to send him back down. This is not like Ramos, right? They're not going to utilize him like they did Ramos, which is, let's see, he's struggling, but we'll give him a shot here. Let's see if it helps him. No, they want to prepare the 21-year-old. If he is going to come up, they want to prepare him to, stick around. So if I'm an outfielder, I'm making sure that, I'm not walking over any lines. I'm not, doing anything to piss off the baseball gods, because Luis Matos is coming and he's tearing the cover off of the baseball in AAA.
Yeah, it's one of those situations too. We talk about, everybody talks about it for years at the Giants and their I guess we can call it a curse. I don't know who cursed us, but having an outfield prospect actually come up with the club and stick and make it, it's been years. I mean, I honestly, I think they talk about it. When was the last one? Was it Danny Gladden? Was he even? I don't even think he was. I'm not even sure he was one of ours before he came up and through the system. But Darren Lewis, we even traded for him.
Yeah, he was an A.
He was an A. So that's the thing. I mean, you look at these guys and you go, when was the last Giants outfield prospect that came up and made some sort of? Oh, that's what I think it was. Chili Davis.
Yeah,
I think Chili Davis might have been the last one. That's why they call it the Chili Davis effect. Sorry, I called it a curse.
Are you telling me that John Bowker wasn't the guy?
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but John Bowker, even when he came up and we got really excited because he had a first couple of good couple of games, we were like, oh, maybe Bowker's the nah, he wasn't.
One of my favorite Giants Twitter followers over the years. She got the @Gidget. That is her username on Twitter. So she's been on for a while.
Impressive.
Every time he would come up, she would just go Bowker mania.
Good old John, because it was Bowker and who was the other guy? There were a couple of Johns. Bocock. It was John Bowker and John Bocock. We had one year, I think both those guys were up at the same time.
Todd, there was a Todd Linden sighting back in the day for outfielders. There was a Rickert Fanita. There were lots of
Mark Carrion,
Dante Powell, Calvin Murray.
Mark Carrion was a Yankee, right?
Yeah,
originally, yeah. So.
Yeah, but I mean, we had some high picks too. Like I said, Dante Powell was Fresno State, I believe. Calvin Murray was supposed to be like a speedster, but he couldnn't hit. Darren Ford. So yeah, I'm excited because we'd kind of talked about him sadly last year because he was hurt and struggling, and he's back. And I'm going to read you a stat here. So from actually less of a stat, more of an analysis from Roger Munter, the Substack. Go check out his Substack. I think it's like $7 a month. It's fantastic value. He said, he wrote in the Substack today, and as I documented the other day, while there are certainly a fair amount of magic wandoos involved in Matos's hits, because of his plus bat speed, even balls that aren't squared up are being put in play at extreme velocity. Over the weekend, 7 of his final 10 balls in play were hit harder than 95 miles per hour exit velocity, including 5 triple digits. While he gets an occasional 57 mile per hour single, that's more an indication of the good things that come from putting the ball in play. As often as he does, then it is an indication of some underlying BABIP luck inflating his numbers. Matos is the kind of player who is likely to have higher than normal BABIP because of his predilection for getting balls.
Yeah, he used a big word. I'm not privy to big words.
For getting balls into play in the first place, along with above average speed. So, because we talk about this with Tyro, because Tyro doesn't walk very often. So his high average was the result of a high BABIP. And, when your BABIP is over 400, more than likely it's going to come back down. And similar with Casey Schmidt, because Casey Schmidt also doesn't walk. But what Roger is saying is that Matos may have a higher than normal BABIP, but it's because he hits the ball so hard because of the exit velocity off of his bat. And it may not be any sort of luck, or maybe just a little bit of luck when it comes to that. So that got me really excited because he can run a little bit and he's a speedy outfielder. So those are a bunch of things that really, really would help this team. They don't really carry an everyday center fielder. And if he could be that, wow, what an amazing injection of everything good about what the Giants, could use in one player. And it's just you kind of for Giants fans, we're a little bit like skeptical because of all of the guys that Brad and I just mentioned, because they've all come through and we've hoped and hoped and hoped, and they never stuck around and they never did it. And they didn't really do it on other teams either. So it's not like we just
Right.
couldn't make it work. It's just they were not big time major league players. So I'm hopeful. I don't know when it's going to happen though, because what Roger also wrote was that the Giants don't really have a need in the outfield like they did in the infield. So he may, it may be a little delay of him actually coming up, but man, it's exciting to even think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, honestly, I'm more excited about this prospect than most prospects because we talked about it earlier. He's my type of player. He's not gonna hit 30 home runs in a
Yeah.
season. He's not gonna hit 40 home runs. He's probably not even gonna hit 20. Maybe he hits 15. Um, but he's that combination of speed, defense, and average. I mean, he's going to put the ball in play. He's going to make things happen, and it's gonna stretch the lineup because right now you've got Lamont Wade Jr. playing just otherworldly when it comes to on base percentage and everything else. His eye is phenomenal. And then you've got Tyro Estrada, who's also just having a great season in terms of getting on base, stealing bases. So if you can put Luis Matos somewhere down in like the 8 or 9 spot, and then if you lead him off in an inning, all of a sudden you've got 3 leadoff men going back to back to back, which is awesome. And a couple of those guys, Lamont Wade and Tyro, do have some pop. And then having the defense in the outfield, Austin Slater still though, again, also my type of player. But as we know, he struggles against righties, so that's kind of a bit of a problem. If Matos can handle both lefties and righties, then yeah, he's got the job. And he's, like you said, he's going to be really hard to push out. If he gets up to the majors and he starts making an impact, he's going to be really, really hard to send down. Giants fans will riot if they have to send him back down at some point, but moves are going to have to be made. What do you do? Do you trade Austin Slater? I mean, he's a guy who crushes lefties.